This is Patrick Roth, Senior Support Technician for E1 Business Solutions. Today we're going to look at a problem that we've seen over the years for when creating a document with distributions in Dynamics GP. Most commonly we run across it in the AP side, the payables management um, from the US side, but it could be receivables, it could be SOP, it could be anything with distributions, whereas you want to bring in some of the distributions yourself and have them balance. In this particular case, we're going to go with payables transactions since that is the most common one. In this file, I thought I'd make it a little more interesting. Usually you actually see that people bring in just one distribution. I'm going to make it more interesting. I'm going to have two distributions on mine. We'll notice that this case we got a travel transaction date and the doc number is the same. I use key fields of doc number, vendor ID, just because that's a primary key on the PM 10,000 table. I could put the transaction date, that'd be fine. Isn't going to hurt anything. But I'm just going to leave it at vendor and doc number. In this case, I have a dist amount field. I don't have a distribution type. And so in this case, these are going to be my purchase distributions, $70 and $30. Lots of times you see in a source file that it'll have a doc total or a doc amount or something that totals them up for you. In this case, we're just going to go with not. We're going to make it a little more interesting and not have that as well. So in this case, I have a $70 purchase and a $30 purchase distribution. We're going to have a $100 document total. If we look at the mappings real quick, we're going to have invoices. So that's hard-coded to 1. We're going to use GP row and column for our vendor. We map our vendor, and these are distributions. They're going to be purchase distributions, so the type is going to be 6. Map the account number. We map the debit amount for our dist amount, and the credit amount is going to be 0. I do not group the node because I have two distributions. I want to leave them both coming in as is, and so they're not grouped at all. And so this looks pretty good. For the create payables transaction, I'm going to group the node because I have two distributions. So I want to take my two distributions, turn them into one header. You need to group that. I grouped the field, and then I mapped the group on for the same two key fields I picked on my map. We just can use test as the hard-coded batch, the same rolling column, map our doc number, vendor ID. We do have a doc number and then the transaction date. And then because we are going to use the sum of our distributions, the sum of the amounts, we made sure, again, group them and the same fields. And then the thing you got to make sure you remember is to set that dist amount to a sum. If you forget, it would be default to first, so it would be a $70 amount, and obviously it's not going to come out, right? So we map the doc amount to our dist amount, and then we also map purchase and charge. Very common in the US because we don't have taxes on our AP typically, and so these are almost always the same. Of course, I could make it more interesting, and we could have check amounts. We could be paying it off. We could change the due dates and all the things. This case, we'll go with what we got. If we run the map, it comes in as successful, so that looks pretty good. So we feel pretty good about ourselves, and we think perhaps we have it. I open a table transaction entry window, sort by vouchers. So the last one is the one we just did. Indeed, it is the same document number and the same vendor. So this is, it's $100. So the summing worked fine. That worked all nice for us. But if we look at the distributions, that didn't work out. So why don't we have a payables distribution? Well, we end up bringing in, and we did get our two purchase ones, and they do look fine, but we don't have payables. So why don't we have a payables dist? Well, that's funny. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this. We don't care. We're going to start over. So if we look at the create payables, one thing that we did do that I didn't note is there's a create distributions. This says create distributions, yes or no. By default, eConnect will always create the distributions for you. And we told it not to, so it indeed did not create distributions for us. So we say, okay, fine, we want to create the distributions. We need that payable distribution. So we're going to flip that to yes, create them for me, please. And it worked. Again, working as a relative term here. Because it worked before, but we didn't come out how we wanted to. So in this case, again, here's our transaction. We look at our distributions. Oh, well, it did default our distribution for us, because we do see that we have that 0002100 record for our pay, but we also have this $100 perch dist that we didn't bring. If we think about the results, and we think about what we just saw in these two runs with that flag, well, that does explain it. So the problem is that from an eConnect perspective, there is no such thing as default non-imported distributions. It's not a thing in eConnect. You either bring the distributions in or you do not bring the distributions in, and they will come in however, they'll default however they do, or if you bring them in, they'll come in exactly however you want to do it. So in this case, we did get our two created, but then it created the defaults for us. And while the payable one is welcome, we don't want this purchasing one here, because that throws us all out of balance. So, okay, well, back to work on our map. So if we go back to our map, then first thing we want to do is fix that flag. So we don't want them defaulting, because that obviously makes things out of balance. So that's not right. But we have to have it defaulting because we need that payable. So how are we going to pull this off? So the one thing about SmartConnect in general is that every line of data from the source passes through each node once. So I have two lines of data that runs through the add distribution node. And then we see that works because I am getting my two distributions, and those are the distributions that I'm pushing in. This one is grouped. So when I say you will at most get two lines of destination data, in this case, since I group my data from two records to one record, or as many as how much ever it turns out to be to one record. So this would be one. So I need three distributions. I need two purchase and I need a pay distribution, but I just said that I can't make more distributions than what data lines that I have. So how do you get around this? And the answer to that is, well, if I had another distribution node, I can have more distribution. I can have up to two more distributions. I only need one, but I could have two. So from a SmartConnect perspective, let's save the map. From a SmartConnect perspective, the node maintenance is what controls all of this. So if I go to my payables transactions, and the idea of node maintenance is that if I create custom nodes from scratch, I can add them here so that SmartConnect will use them just as the same as any other node. If I want to switch things around, I can move my nodes up and down. I can add custom nodes, like these two are E1 custom nodes that we've added to the regular payables transaction ones from the SmartConnect side. So in this case, we want another distribution. In this case, it's an existing node. I'm not creating this from scratch. And the name of the node is TAPM distribution. And as it turns out, since I did this previously, it should have defaulted in with the name add distribution only. I did it before practicing this, and so I had named it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you move it. So now I'm moving it up to the other node. You don't want to be at the end. It might work, but you should always best practice to make sure that the nodes are in the order that Microsoft has it, and we out of the box put them in that same order. So in this case, it would probably be called add distribution. And again, here I just tacked on the name dash pay as that's would tell me what I'm going to do with this node specifically. And the other one I'll just leave as is. I could rename that one too. Not really any need to do that. Okay, now that we added our add distribution pay to our map. Let's open it up. And we do see the original add distribution. We see the add distribution pay is in there correctly. And of course, the node destinations are what we'd expect because it's the same node as before, just a new copy of that node. So we'll map our local constant. We'll set a rolling column. The distribution amount will go to the credit side. We want to make sure we group the data. The group data should be grouped on the same fields as our key fields. So that's doc number and vendor. Let's map our vendor. Sequence number we don't care about. The distribution type in this case is going to be purchasing, or excuse me, payables. So we're going to hard code to 2. We don't have the default AP account anywhere in our source file. And if we wanted to, we could write a quick calculated field and we could pull it out of the posting settings, out of GP. In this case, what's very common is just hard code it to what you want it to be. So in this case, 2100 count. So that's correct. If we look at our mappings real quick, document type, vendor, distribution type, the debit amount here should be 0. Depending on the destination nodes, sometimes it doesn't like blank, sometimes it does. We'll make sure that we don't have that ambiguity. We will set that to 0, and again, our credit amount set. Last thing we should do, I almost forgot, is you want to make sure to set our dist amount to the sum. So this will get our 70 plus 30, our 100. So this should be our credit amount to match. So if we run the map again, one document as expected, successful as expected, but as we've seen a few times already, just because it was successful doesn't mean it's right. Here's our transaction, and if we pull up our document, we do see 100 and 100. Here's our 2 perch disks for 70/30. And we do see our 2100 distribution for payables, 400. And the final test is if we hit OK, Dynamics GP doesn't complain about distributions and problems. So it does look like we successfully created a 3-line distribution file from only 2 source lines by using the node maintenance.